In this video, I'm going to show you how to install a kitchen sink start to finish. And if you're new to this channel, my name is Josh. This channel is all about DIY to save a ton of money. So be sure to subscribe, ring that bell so you get a notification every time I release a new video, and hammer that like button for me. That's all I ask in return for making this video. So we got a lot to go over today, so let's get started. If you remember from the previous video, we cut out this laminate top for the drop-in sink. If you haven't seen that video, I recommend you check it out in the link description below. But before we set the sink into the opening, we first need to address the water lines using SharkBite Max fittings. I'd like to thank today's sponsor, SharkBite. SharkBite Max fittings are some of the best fittings on the market for plumbing. If you'd like more information on SharkBite, I'll put a link to their website below, and I'll also put a link to all the products used in this video by SharkBite so you can check them out for yourself. Here we are underneath of the sink, and I want to explain what we have going on under here. This elbow up is for the air admittance valve, so we're going to install that after we address the water lines, and then we got an 1.5 inch pipe below that has an adapter for the P-trap, and over here we got a receptacle for the dishwasher, and that's going to be in the next video. Then we have our hot water here to the left and our cold water to the right. This type of pipe is CPVC. And if this was PEX, copper, or CPVC, the SharkBite Max fitting will adapt to it with no problem. Here are the two different SharkBite Max fittings I'll be installing. The first type I wanted to go over is what's called a dual shutoff valve. And this is a quarter turn stop, meaning you turn this a quarter and it'll shut it off. And this is a 3/8 side, and then this is the 1/2 inch side that's going to slide right over the pipe. And these are great for underneath a kitchen sink because one side will supply the dishwasher, then the other side will supply the kitchen sink. So it's great you got 2 in 1. And then for the other side, I got a simple angle stop. And this does not have to be an angle stop. I could have got away with a straight stop here, but this will work just fine. And we have our 1/2 inch to 3/8 here. And this will slide right over the cold water side with no problem. So we're going to install the SharkBite Max fittings first. Before installing the SharkBite, I'm going to place Eastman flange covers here on the pipe. So that way we have a nice cosmetic look here where the pipes come up through the bottom of the cabinet. Before installing a SharkBite fitting, whether it's a Max or the original, we must first deburr the pipe. And this deburring tool has a side that's for SharkBite Max, and then this side is for the SharkBite first generation, and that's really just for the insertion depth difference. So I'm first going to deburr this pipe using the 1/2 inch side. We're just going to slide it over it and twist it several times to make sure we deburr it correctly. You can see that gave it a nice little tapered edge there, and it's deburred, looks good. Now we're going to slide this back over, and this is where the difference to the sides are. This Max side goes on a little deeper compared to the first generation. So we're going to mark this side for the Max. Now we have the insertion depth that we know we need to meet when we push on our SharkBite Max fitting. Because this is the hot water side, we're going to install the dual shutoff, and watch how easy this pushes on. And I like to slide this down and make sure we are on, and we are, and that looks really good. You see that installation of the SharkBite Max fitting is so simple. Now we have our dishwasher and our sink both addressed at the same time. A great thing about SharkBite fittings in general is that they can pivot and rotate any direction you need them to, and the shutoff valves turn really nice and smooth. And I like to turn mine to the off position when I turn the water back on so that I can turn them on myself to the fixture once the water is turned on to the area that I'm working on. So that's installed. Now we're going to install the cold water side. Now for the cold water side, we're going to follow the exact same process, deburr first. Now place the deburring tool back on and match it to what SharkBite fitting you got, and then mark underneath of it. So now you have your insertion depth marked. Then simply push your SharkBite Max fitting on with no problem. Looks really good. I like that. And I'm going to shut mine to the off position. And I can remove these now because I'm going to be installing the water supply lines by Eastman that already has a rubber compression ring in them. In order to install the air admittance valve for the vent, we need to install this adapter that's going to give us the female thread so we can thread the male end of their admittance valve into place. I'm going to install this piece first. I'm going to glue this in with primer and PVC cement like you typically would with any drain line. Then simply place thread sealant on this air admittance valve and thread it into place. And you don't have to tighten this down super tight, just as long as it has a decent seal, because you do got to replace these once they go bad years down the road. Before placing the sink into the opening, we're going to install the faucet. It's much easier to do this now than to do it later. I have the sink turned around here to where the holes for installing the faucet is exposed. And this is going to be placed right down through these center holes here. And we want to make sure we place a little silicone on this install because there's no rubber gasket here on the bottom of this like a lot of them have. So we're going to take this off and place silicone on it now. Using 100% silicone, I'm going to place a nice bead right around here. And this goes on white but dries clear, just so you know. Now I'm going to place this right through these holes. Using the wing nuts I removed initially, I'm just going to replace those right onto the bottom of the faucet. Before tightening those down all the way, we want to make sure that we are centered here. And then we're going to clean this silicone off. I'm now going to install the sprayer grommet, and this is easy to install. We're going to take this off and then slide it through this hole, then replace the wing nut. I'm now going to take the sprayer and fish the hose end through the grommet. The sprayer hose will simply snap onto the area here coming out from the faucet. I'm now going to install the water supply lines for the faucet. These are Eastman steel braided flexible supply lines, and these are great because they have a compression ring in them, so you don't need any type of pipe thread sealant or anything of that nature. They have a rubber compression ring that's going to seal right onto the faucet, which is great. And this end is 3/8. It's going to go to the SharkBite Max fittings. So it's a one-stop shop. You install these tightly to the faucet and you're ready to go. So I'm going to take adjustable wrenches to hold on to this part of the faucet and then adjustable wrench to tighten on this nut to the faucet. Just so you know, Eastman is a sister company to SharkBite. SharkBite and Eastman are under RWC, which is the parent company, so you know you're getting great quality when you buy Eastman as well. Your water supply line length is determined on how far away your shutoff valve is. Mine are relatively close to this, so I can get away with using this 16-inch one. Now, if it was further away, I'd have to get a longer one, of course, just so you know. So I'm going to thread this right on here, hand tighten first. Then I'm going to hand tighten this one on as well. Using an adjustable wrench to hold the faucet end, I'm going to take another one to tighten on the steel braided Eastman supply line. And you don't have to over tighten these, just snug them up really well. That's all there is to installing the water supply lines onto the faucet. The brackets were sent with the sink to anchor it to the countertop. To place it together, all you have to do is thread the threaded end into the clip, and that's what's going to be used to place underneath the sink. I'm going to show you how these clips work before dropping the sink in, because after it's in, you will not be able to see this very well. So these will slide into these slots on the sink after it is set into place. Then you're going to turn it to where these will catch the edge of the countertop. And then we're going to take a straight screwdriver and then you're going to tighten it down until that clamps the sink down to the countertop. And that's what's going to secure it. Before dropping the sink into the opening, we're going to place silicone right around this edge so that we have a nice watertight seal so water doesn't seep underneath of the sink. Now I'm going to place the sink nice and easy down onto that silicone. All right, we're going to center this up where we want it to be officially sitting. Okay, that looks good there. Now we're going to go underneath and install the clips like I instructed before setting the sink into place. Be prepared because as you can see, it's not very comfortable getting under there to tighten up the clips, but you can see the clips are gripping tightly to the countertop, and that's going to be what seals that silicone down well. Also, definitely don't over tighten these, but since it requires a straight screwdriver, you really can't tighten them up that well anyways, and I think that was by design. Whenever you tighten up the brackets, it's going to push some of the silicone out around the edge. Be sure to clean that up now so that when it dries, it'll look really good. Because this is a double bowl sink, we got 2 drains to install, so we're going to install those now. I'm going to explain the anatomy and how to install most kitchen sink drains. You first have your screener here we're going to remove. We then have the lock nut underneath that's going to hook the drain to the sink. We're going to remove that. And then we have a paper gasket that's going to just simply act as a lubricant for when we tighten up this rubber washer from underneath the sink. And then this part with this foam washer is going to go in the sink from above. So we're going to install this part into the sink now with silicone underneath this foam gasket and above. I'm going to place silicone right around this area where the drain's to be installed. I'm then going to place silicone around the drain itself. I'm going to place the foam gasket on the drain and then place the drain into the sink like so. And yes, you will get a good bit of silicone push out here, and you could also use plumber's putty here as well. I'm now going to reach in from below and install these items in this order: the rubber washer, paper gasket, then the lock nut. I'm going to hold this while I tighten it from below. Now that that's tightened down all the way, we're going to clean the silicone out from around the drain. I'm now going to install the second drain. Both sink drains are now installed. I'm now going to connect the steel braided water supply lines that's going to the faucet to the shutoff valves. This 3/8 side is going to connect to the 3/8 side of the SharkBite Max fitting. And all we're going to do here is hand thread it on first. Now you want to make sure on this dual shutoff valve that you thread it on the side that it's not going to be where the dishwasher is. The dishwasher's to the left here, so we're going to thread this on to the right side. Now that that's hand tightened on, we're going to tighten it up with a wrench to finish off the compression type fitting. I'm now going to place the cold water supply line to the shutoff valve. And it's a good idea to hold the SharkBite with one hand while tightening with the other. It's just right here at this angle with the camera, it's hard to get in and show you that. That's all there is to connect the faucet to the SharkBite Max fittings. To hook up the sink drains, I got what's called a 1.5" PVC end outlet kit, and this is for drains that are 16 inches apart. And I also got a P-trap that's 1.5 inches as well. And I also have a tailpipe that's for a dishwasher, so the drain for the dishwasher is going to adapt here. So I'm going to make my connections to the drain now. This kit will be used to connect the drains together. I'm going to begin by sliding the lock nut over this part of this longer tailpipe that's going to angle over here, and we're going to hand thread it on to this drain. And you do not tighten anything up all the way yet. We're just going to place it on loosely. And as you can see, we're going to have to trim this down some in order for this to go together. So we're going to make a mark with a marker to see where to cut it. I'm just going to lay this up here. And as you can see, we need to cut about that much off of it. We're going to cut this with a hacksaw. After making the cut, it's important to deburr the pipe to reduce the risk of clogs. Now that we are cut to length, we're going to place our nut and slip joint washer on now, because we are going to fit it on to this section, and we're just going to again hand tighten this on, not real tight, just enough to get started. The dishwasher tailpipe would now be slid on, and I'm going to slide the P-trap on as if it's going to be installed. And as you can see, it looks like we're a little short here, so we're going to have to extend this out from the wall further, and it looks like we need to come out about 4 or 5 inches, which is okay. But the good thing is we did not glue this in yet for this reason, in case we had to extend it out. So we're going to extend this out to here to finish up this install. Okay, I went ahead and extended this out real quick. I'm going to go ahead and loosen this up. and we're going to dry fit everything again to see what we got. All right, looks good. Only thing we need to do is cut this down a little bit so it goes up a little bit higher. So I'm going to take about a ½ inch off this. We cut some off. Now let's see if this works. All right, that's going to line up really well. So we're going to take all this back off, and we also need to make sure that we add these washers inside this connection so it helps prevent leaks. These are going to slide right inside here like so, and we're going to place one on this side as well. Then we're going to reinstall this. And whenever you place the slip joint washer on, make sure the tapered is where the thin side is facing towards the joint. Slide this lock nut over here. We're going to slide this back into the wall. And this is going to slide over here. Now going to hand tighten our connections. All right, now we need to make sure that we tighten everything down really well. Just don't ever tighten to where you strip the plastic. Just tighten up and snug well. And that's all there is to hooking up the drain using the Eastman connections. If you're enjoying this type of content, then you'll definitely want to check out the Excellent Laborer course membership. Get instant access to all the DIY courses and downloads for just $5 a month at the time of this recording. And the best part, the library is growing, but your price won't if you lock it in today. Check out the link in the description to get started. The water is not turned on to this house yet, so we cannot test our connections to see if they're leaking. And also, I couldn't do it right now anyways because we need to let that silicone sit up in that drain for at least overnight is what we like to do, just to make sure it's set up all the way before flood testing the sink. But once the water's turned on and the silicone's set up, we're going to open up this cabinet, then quarter turn our shark bites to the on position so that water's coming up to our faucet. We're then going to stop up the sink and turn the water on and fill up the sink and let water set in it and check our drains for leaks. Then after that passes, we're going to let water flow through the drain for a few minutes and let all that water out to see if the drains are leaking for the P-trap and the tailpipe. And if all that looks good, then we're good to go. And if you'd like to see how I'm going to install the dishwasher to this sink, check out this video. It'll help you out.